India is at war with terror. And since Pakistan continues to harbor and host terror, there is a situation of increasing military conflict and tension between India and Pakistan. And this situation is not without cost to citizens. In this video, we'll talk about the cost to the average citizen over the last 24 hours and also the cost that comes from the fake news on social media and the mainstream media. And finally, if you stick around, we'll talk about where you can find proper sources of information as to what is going on in the country right now if you want to track it for yourself. All right, let's get started. Now, this is from the human citizen point of view, everything that went on over the last 24 hours. Imagine if your entire city is in blackout, which means you either don't have lights or you can't turn on your lights, and you're sitting huddled with your children, listening to sirens go off all night and trying to hope and pray that everything will be fine until morning. This was the experience for several people across the, for example, districts of Punjab, border areas of Amritsar, Pathankot, Firozpur. They spent a very anxious night as authorities enforced a complete blackout. Because of those heightened tensions. There was also Jalandhar, Gurdaspur, Hoshiarpur, where there were blackouts last night. Chandigarh, there was a blackout of almost 2 hours until midnight. According to the Defence Ministry, the Pakistan military attempted to target Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Amritsar, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Bathinda, Chandigarh, and a few other areas. And you'll remember by the information we put out this morning, none of those attempted attacks were successful. India managed to crush and thwart every single one of them. In Pathankot, locals said that they heard explosions and there was no official confirmation of what those explosions were. In Chandigarh, there were sirens that went off early this morning, about 5 a.m. And there were blackouts that were also enforced in Ludhiana, in Bathinda, Patiala, and in Haryana's Panchkula area. In Gujarat, there were blackouts for over 7 hours at the border areas near Kutch. The lights went out at about 10 p.m. and didn't come back till nearly 5:30 this morning. Jammu had a really rough night as well. There were sounds of blasts over the city, and that triggered an immediate blackout. And there was, we understand from official information now, activity of loitering munitions witnessed in the skies. Blast sounds were heard at 3:50 a.m. and 4:45 a.m. with the sounding of the sirens. In Bilaspur district in Himachal Pradesh, the authorities issued an advisory prioritizing the safety and security of citizens. The district magistrate appealed to residents to ensure a complete blackout of their respective areas, and the border state has been put on high alert. So Bilaspur actually shares a boundary with Punjab. As per the guidelines, no lights, both outdoor and indoor lights have to be turned out, and citizens have been advised to stay indoors. Chandigarh, like I told you, had fresh sirens go off this morning, and that made many people nervous, but then it turned out to be fine. There was a bomb-like object that was discovered in Jaisalmer's Kishan Ghat area. This is Rajasthan's Jaisalmer district on Friday morning, this morning, prompting swift action from the local police to come in and dismantle that as well. Rajasthan's border areas also sounded a red alert, and there were blackouts in several cities in view of the rising tensions. Sri Ganganagar police have asked citizens to remain inside their homes and turn out their lights. Now, some people in the border villages of Punjab started moving to safer areas. On the 7th of May, people from villages near Firozpur district in Punjab began moving to safer areas. Several residents in Amritsar and Batala resorted to panic buying of grocery items, pulses, cooking oil, wheat flour, sugar. Now, the local authorities have told people not to panic, that everything is fine, but people were seen queuing up at department stores and kirana stores to bulk buy. People also lined up at fuel stations in Amritsar because they were afraid the fuel would run out. Villagers in Firozpur said they've begun shifting their belongings to other places, although there's been no official call from any from the Border Security Force or the Indian Army or any other government agency to evacuate that area. But the real pain was felt in Poonch, in Jammu and Kashmir, which was the worst hit. People have been evacuated. At least 13 people, including 4 children and 1 soldier, was killed. 57 people have been injured by the shelling carried out by the Pakistani army. Intense artillery and mortar shelling. That's been the worst we have seen actually since the two countries renewed the ceasefire in 2021. The toll later went up to 16. Hundreds of residents were forced to take refuge in underground bunkers as that shelling just went on. Pakistan troops also have been shelling at Uri sector of Jammu and Kashmir. One woman has been killed and two of her family members have been injured. Schools and colleges are closed across border areas. Punjab government has ordered schools to be closed till Saturday. There in Delhi, there has been a heightened security, especially at government buildings and vital installations. So, for example, where your water comes from, the sewage treatment plants, the electricity, establishments, all of that infrastructure that supports the city is under high vigilance. The police has strengthened vigilance in areas that have high footfall, like the market, the railway station, parks, metros, and so on. There's enhanced security happening at all airports. If you're taking a flight, like I said, you'll actually be put through several rounds of extra rounds of security. Plus, no one will be allowed inside of the airport. Delhi airport, though, remains normal. Flight schedules have been impacted. Several flights were cancelled. 27 airports across the country, especially in the northern area, have been closed until further notice. At least 90 flights to and from Delhi airport were cancelled, and all of this just added to the stress and the tension for the people, in those northern states. Imagine if you have a loved one in hospital and the power keeps going out, or you have small children, or you have elderly people at home, or someone who's ill, and the sound of those sirens and just the panic that it sets in. It has been a difficult night for many people across our country, and we must acknowledge that as well. There was panic buying of fuel in many parts of the country, to a point where Indian Oil Corporation has actually put out a statement saying that there are ample stocks of fuel. There is no reason to worry at all, no need to bulk buy or panic buy fuel at all. We have enough in India. Just to quickly take a look at what's happening with our stock market, because that's an impact on us as well. The rupee depreciated about 30 paise, and it was at 85.88 to the US dollar. The Sensex was down, but not as badly as the market was down in Karachi. Ours was actually down about 400 points when it opened, about 700 points at the worst point of the day. Which isn't really as bad as some of the market analysts would have expected it to be. There was a massive menace of fake news, and this we must talk about, whether it was on WhatsApp, or it was on social media, or on the mainstream media. People were making up information, and the Press Information Bureau had to keep putting out fact checks saying this has not happened, this has not happened. So I want to take you through some of the main sort of fake news things that came out over the last 24 hours. There was one false, completely 100% false piece of information saying that there was a suicide attack in Rajouri. The government has dismissed it, saying that it is completely false. In another case, there was a video of the destruction of an Indian army post. Again, this was completely false, and that video was fake. There was a fake letter attributed to a non-existent chief of army staff, which surfaced, which the PIB has confirmed is completely fake. Pakistani social media handles were claiming all kinds of things. Destruction of our aircraft, shooting down of things. It's all now been debunked by our government, saying that it is not true and you should not believe any of that information. WhatsApp messages saying ATMs will be closed, you won't have access to cash, has also been debunked. Any explosion, there was one story that said there's been an explosion at Jammu, Kashmir, or Jammu's Air Force Base. That was fake as well. And I remember last night getting a lot of messages from very concerned people saying, is this true? Is this true? Is this true? Is this true? Because in this modern day and age, where AI can generate almost any kind of visual, it becomes really difficult to be able to tell the difference between truth and between complete fabricated lies, especially when these lies are being carried by mainstream media. So it's important to be able to find sources where you can find verifiable information. That's what I'm going to tell you next. Now, especially at a time like this, the most important sources to track are official government sources. And in the description of this video, we've actually put all of the links to these official government sources, so you can follow them on social media or you can track them. So there is the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of External Affairs, they have their own Twitter handles or X handles. PIB, which is a Press Information Bureau, from where the government releases information for the press. These are all official handles. PIB also does fact checks, which it will put on its handle, which is important to keep an eye on. As a citizen, stay in touch with the handles of your local police and your local government, because whatever happens, whatever instruction you have to receive, whatever you have to do will come from these two people, from your local police of your city and your local government of your city. So yes, it's important to find out what's happening in the rest of the country so you know, but in order to know what you should be doing in your city, you have to keep track of your local police. So information should come, keep a track on the Chief Minister's office, on police, on the collector's office or the district collector, whoever is in charge. They will put out information for you. We have the good fortune of receiving live press conferences that are beamed on the internet from the Ministry of External Affairs and the Ministry of Defense. We've seen them happen now twice. We're waiting for the third one, where we have the Foreign Secretary himself coming and giving us information. And we have two officers who happen to be brilliant women, but two officers from the defense who give us complete details. So we actually don't have to, be sort of bamboozled by people giving us rubbish information or nonsense information, because the government sources are giving us great information. As an extra tip before I let you go, I must give you this. In journalism school, when you go to college and study journalism, they will teach you the rules of how to report on conflict and war, or a war-like situation, especially when it comes to your country. I want to take you through these instructions. It'll take 2 minutes because I want to help you be able to choose a good journalistic outlet and a bad one. And I want to empower you with that information, right? So how do you report when there is a conflict? There has to be accurate, verified reporting above all else, verified before publication, because misleading details could cause panic. It could escalate tensions. People will wind up following that information and could actually wind up in danger. It has to be objective and balanced. Yes, every news reporter, every editor, every organization will have a loyalty towards your own country and the side of your own country. Nevertheless, you cannot allow that to sort of flow into your communication. The communication has to continue to remain clean, and it has to communicate unemotionally. And people will ask, no, but you should also feel like nationalistic fervor. Of course you can feel nationalistic fervor when you're outside. So it's like this. I always give this example, right? Imagine a surgeon who's doing a really complex surgery. At that point, do you want this person to be emotional, excited, sad, happy, angry? Or do you want this person to be able to leave their emotions out, come in and respect the position that they're in and the power that they hold, and be able to do their job without any emotion, finish it, go outside and feel your emotions again? Being a journalist or being a news reporter has to be the same thing. It doesn't matter what you're feeling. At the time that you are delivering the information, you should be able to deliver it in an unemotional fashion. And everybody respects your emotion, but you should have no space in your reporting. The next rule is to avoid sensationalism, because the matter is so sensitive, because it's conflict, it involves lives, it involves information, it involves, it could evoke fear, it could evoke hatred. So sensationalism should be avoided, language should be measured, visuals should be measured. There has to be a respect for the dignity of those involved. There has to be, they should not be using visuals that cause people anxiety. I know that that's the exact opposite of what is happening right now. There has to be the highest possible ethical standards have to be used while reporting on conflict or a war-like situation. There has to be context and background, and of course, every talking head, every guest, every expert has to be chosen very carefully, because they are able to give you context and background to what you are witnessing happen right now. So for example, someone who has experience in a particular area of defense will be able to explain to you what a particular air defense system is and how it works. That is useful. Someone who understands foreign affairs, or someone who understands India's relationship with the rest of the world or India's relationship with Pakistan, will be able to give you historic perspective on what is happening right now. But someone sitting in their chair just screaming out emotions and baying for blood, that is not useful at all to any audience member. And finally, and this is part of the rule, it has to promote understanding, and it has to promote a certain level of peace in the way we communicate. So already there has to be an appreciation for the fact that this is an anxious and anxiety-driven situation for all citizens. Like I started off in the beginning of this video, it makes people nervous, it makes people scared. So journalism per se has to be unemotional, and it has to minimize that anxiety for ordinary citizens as much as possible. So effectively, without manipulating any of your feelings, to give you the information you need and deserve and you need to know as a citizen. That is what journalism must do. Now that I've armed you with this understanding, you can use it to actually filter through all of the information that you're getting. Use only reliable information for yourself and for your family. Follow instructions of your local government and police to stay safe and be vigilant. Do not panic, and do not consume information that upsets you further.